It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, live from Crumpsall in Greater Manchester, the scene of today's deadly terror attack on a synagogue.
Everybody else, get back! If you're not involved, move back!
2 members of the city's Jewish community were killed and 3 other people seriously injured as the congregation gathered for a service on Yom Kippur, Judaism's holiest day. Police say the attacker, shot dead by armed police, was 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent. 2 other men and a woman have been detained on suspicion of terrorism offences. The Prime Minister has promised to protect Jewish communities, warning that the UK must now repel a rising tide of anti-Semitism.
While this is not a new hate, this is something Jews have always known. We must be clear. It is a hatred that is rising once again. And Britain must defeat it once again.
But Israel's Foreign Minister says the UK's government has failed to curb a toxic wave of anti-Semitism, and words are not enough. Tonight we'll assess the impact of today's atrocity on this community here in Manchester and the country. Good evening from Crumpsall in Greater Manchester, where 2 members of this city's Jewish community have been killed in a terrorist attack at a synagogue. 3 people are in a serious condition in hospital tonight. The attack took place on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. The attacker, named tonight by police as 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent. Counter-terrorism officers say he rammed a car into people arriving at the synagogue this morning, attacking another person with a knife. He was shot dead by firearms officers. 3 other people are in custody on suspicion of terrorism offences. A warning that this report from our Chief North of England correspondent, Greg Mylan, contains graphic images.
Armed police, their guns trained on the suspected attacker.
Get back! If you're not involved, move back! Get away! Somebody stay with integrity! Everybody else! He has a bomb! Go away!
He's got a bomb on him! Bomb? Mate, he's got a...
They try to get members of the public away.
Man, he's got a bomb on his jacket, mate. He's trying to go into school. Mate, he's stabbed him. No, he's got a bomb. Get out.
A victim of the attack lies on the floor.
Mate, if he detonates... Mate, I'm just jumping out of this in a minute. He's going to blow himself up. He's trying to press the button.
When the attacker ignored their instructions.
Like, shoot him!
These pictures show a knife and an item we believe was strapped to the attacker's body. In those first moments, the mere suspicion this was a terror attack prompted a response within minutes and of overwhelming scale. The fear there could be explosives. Police have identified the attacker as 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent. Based on what they know so far, they say he has never been referred to the government's Prevent counter-terror programme. All of this happened at a synagogue on the holiest day of the year in the Jewish calendar. For those who call this community home, it is shattering.
Today, like I said, being an auspicious high holy day, we've all fasted since 6:30 last night. You want to feel secure, you want to be able to go to places and feel that you can just walk around and do what you can do.
It's ridiculous, honestly. I don't know what goes through people's minds when they target innocent people. It's just, it doesn't sit right with me.
I've never been frightened. I've been in shelters, sirens, army bases, bombed at. In first Gulf War, second Gulf War, served in the army there. I've never been scared.
There you go. Any of you heard that?
And today I'm scared. This has happened, you know, in my neighbourhood.
That noise you hear as she's talking, to people already on edge, they speculated was the sound of a controlled explosion. Barely 100 metres from the scene, police sealed off another street. One neighbour here reported seeing people being detained. Police have confirmed 2 arrests.
This attack has been officially declared as a terrorist incident, and the investigation is now being led by counter-terrorist police. as has been confirmed by CT policing, we believe that the identity of the offender has been established, but until we are certain of this fact, it is premature to set out this detail at this juncture.
The Mayor of Greater Manchester came to visit the scene.
Tonight our first thoughts are with the families of those people who died, those injured and those traumatised by this and horrific anti-Semitic attack on our Jewish friends and neighbours. We condemn it outright.
Attacks like this are felt far beyond where they happen. The Prime Minister offering this message to the Jewish community.
On behalf of our country, I express my solidarity, but also my sadness that you still have to live with these fears. Nobody should have to do that. Nobody. And so I promise you that I will do everything in my power to guarantee you the security that you deserve, starting with a more visible police presence protecting your community.
Security at synagogues had already been increased. The fear of just this sort of attack was real. And here, in this community, it became reality. Greg Milam, Sky News, Manchester.
Well, I'm joined now by our crime correspondent, Martin Brunt, because, Martin, the police investigation will be getting more details this evening, updates on the suspect and those arrested.
We are. The police told us some hours ago that they thought they knew who the killer was, but they weren't ready to tell us. Now they have. In the last hour, they've told us that he is a man called Jihad al-Shami, a British man, 35 years old, of Syrian background. We also understand that he came to the UK as a young child and still as a minor was given British citizenship in around 2006. So it hasn't taken them long to identify him. It seems he lives in Prestwich, which is about a 10-minute drive from here. Tonight, colleagues of ours have been down to a house where there was earlier a good deal of police activity, and that road is sealed off by police tonight. Police have said that so far as they know, this man wasn't known to them or to the intelligence agencies, so no record of suspicion or posing any kind of threat as a terrorist, they say, so far. Another police update, they've made 3 arrests. Remember earlier they told us 2 people have been arrested. Now they say it's 3, 2 men in their 30s and a woman in her 60s. And they've all been arrested on suspicion of preparing acts of terror.
OK, Martin, thank you. Martin there with a police update for us this evening. Thank you. Well, let's take a closer look at how the attack unfolded here in Crumpsall, Manchester this morning. A first 999 call was made at 9:31 a.m. Police told a man had been stabbed and a car had been driven towards members of the public at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue here in Crumpsall. 3 minutes later, firearms officers were deployed to Middleton Road as police received further reports that a security guard had been attacked with a knife. When police arrived, there was a car close to the front of the gates of the synagogue, with the victim also lying on the floor. At 9:38, at the front of the synagogue, officers confronted the attacker before opening fire and killing him. At 1 p.m, a police cordon was put up on White House Avenue, less than half a mile from the synagogue. Witnesses say 2 men in handcuffs were led away by police. Well, tonight, as the sun went down, members of the Jewish community here in Manchester left their synagogues to break their fast after Yom Kippur. Many of them unaware of what had happened this morning, as their phones had been off all day. Sky's Katerina Vitozzi has been speaking to some of them.
It's the holiest of Jewish days, Yom Kippur, a moment of fasting and prayer, a time to shut out the world.
We're at a synagogue just a few minutes away from where today's attack happened, and it's really the heart of North Manchester's Jewish community. All day people have been in synagogue, their phones have been turned off, and as prayers have come to an end and people have started to come out, we found that we've had to tell them what has happened, this attack on their community, just moments away.
like Rachel, who heard police sirens from inside the synagogue but didn't know what they were.
People get hurt, very badly hurt.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, 2 people have died.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, dear.
Oh, my gosh.
On this holy day,
It's the holiest day of the year. Very, very frightening. Very frightening. And we're not safe. We're not safe.
Earlier in the day, we saw additional police patrols here, but security, both paid and volunteer, is a regular sight now outside every synagogue to help protect a community that even before today has felt under threat.
The security is not the solution.
What do you think is the solution?
I don't know. Those who really wants to do, they will do it with lots of security, it doesn't matter.
Amongst everyone we spoke to, there was a sense of shock, but perhaps not necessarily of surprise. Amidst rising acts of anti-Semitism in the UK, David Yehudi and the rabbi he studied with tell us today has felt like a long time coming.
As a grandchild of a Holocaust survivor, I feel as if, like, hey, maybe this is before 1935 again. That's the overwhelming feeling all over the world.
That real fear.
Yeah, sure, 100%.
We have the United Nations, which was set up with the intention of never again. And where's the United Nations? Never
in terms
again?
of the global support against anti-Semitism?
Whatever, just everything. It just doesn't, it's not there anymore. We're just not there. We, as unsafe as we were before the war.
It is a shocking thing to hear on the most solemn of days. Katerina Vitozzi, Sky News in Manchester.
Well, let's hear from the Chief Rabbi, Sir Ephraim Mervis, who's just released this statement. He has this to say: our hearts are shattered. Emerging from the holy fast of Yom Kippur, British Jews are now grasping the full extent of today's terror attack at the Heaton Park Synagogue in Manchester. This is the day we hoped we would never see, but which deep down we knew would come. For so long, we have witnessed an unrelenting wave of Jew hatred on our streets, on campuses, on social media and elsewhere. This is the tragic result. This is not only an assault on the Jewish community, but an attack on the very foundations of humanity and the values of compassion, dignity and respect, which we all share. I've spoken this evening to Rabbi Daniel Walker, the spiritual leader of the Heaton Park Synagogue. His courageous leadership, together with the resilience of his congregation, are an inspiration to us all. May the victims' memories be for a blessing, and may the injured be granted a swift recovery. I pray that this tragedy strengthens our collective resolve to confront anti-Semitism in all its guises, once and for all. That's a statement from the Chief Rabbi. As he said, many Jews across the UK only finding out about this tragic incident, this terrorism incident, just a couple of hours ago as they came out of fasting on Yom Kippur. Well, our Chief North of England correspondent Greg Mylan is with me now. And Greg, you've been talking to the people that live on these streets. It's a very diverse community. We've been reflecting that on Sky News today. Many faiths living side by side, and the sentiment amongst all of them is one of absolute shock.
Yeah, you see it on their faces, actually. I think just the scale of what happened on their doorstep, the speed with which it happened, the fear that there were explosives there, the need to get out of their homes and come down here to be at a safe distance in the minds of the police, the fact there were children in there, and the fact it was such a holy day, I think really struck home, because it is a very diverse area. There's a big Jewish community, but a big Muslim community as well, communities that got on very well in the past, and I think that was it's been a really striking day for them, and you could see it on their faces. We mentioned before the group of elderly people who were put on some old dining chairs that someone brought down just so they had somewhere to sit and wait in the hope that they could get back in tonight. They've not been allowed back into their homes yet because there is, of course, still a crime scene there, but difficult for them, but I think also some gratitude in what they've heard about what happened today, gratitude for the speed of the police response, that prevented any further loss of life, you would imagine, but also the response from the people inside the synagogue, those who barricaded all those young people who were in there, as well as the adults as well, and the security staff there. There's some gratitude, I think, that lives were saved in all of what happened today.
OK, Greg, thank you. Greg Milam, who has been following events here in Crumpsall all day for us on Sky News. Well, we heard from the Prime Minister earlier today, and as well as promising to protect Britain's Jewish communities, he also warned that today's atrocity underlines that the UK must defeat rising anti-Semitism. Sir Keir Starmer said that Jews were targeted today simply because they were Jews, and it was also an attack on Britain and its values. Our home editor, Jason Farrell, has this report.
A targeted attack on a community, almost certainly inspired by hatred, designed to provoke fear. It seemed inevitable this statement would come.
Counter-terrorism policing has declared this as a terrorist incident. And I want to be clear, UK policing is mobilising, and it's mobilising fast.
Police say there's no reason to suspect an increased threat to synagogues, but policing visibility will be stepped up. This from London's mayor.
I want to reassure them that in London they will be seeing additional police officers. People should be allowed to go about and practice their faith, knowing they're going to be safe. Unfortunately, too many Jewish Londoners, Jewish people across the country, Jewish people across the globe don't feel that way, and that's heartbreaking.
The Jewish community had feared this day would come and had already put measures in place to protect themselves, as the Prime Minister observed.
We provide a home. For so many Jewish families, that is the story of Britain. But Britain is also a country where Jewish buildings, synagogues, even schools require round-the-clock protection, where dedicated specialist security is necessary because of the daily threat of anti-Semitic hatred. Today's horrific incident shows why. And while this is not a new hate, this is something Jews have always lived with, we must be clear. It is a hatred that is rising once again.
The Community Security Trust, which monitors anti-Semitism, found that after the October 7th attacks in Israel, anti-Jewish incidents doubled in the first half of 2024.
I don't want it to be normalised. It's completely abnormal and extreme for British Jews to have to lead this way. The security measures at schools, I mean, we design schools at the architecture stage to be as far back from main roads as possible in case, God forbid, there's ever a truck bomb. You know, that's the extent of what we do.
Ahmed Ali Alid was responsible for the last terrorist murder in the UK. In October 2023, the asylum seeker attacked a Christian housemate in Hartlepool, but said he was inspired by the war in Gaza. In October last year, the head of MI5 had this warning.
We are powerfully alive to the risk that events in the Middle East directly trigger terrorist action in the UK, as we saw with last October's knife attack in Hartlepool. The ripples from conflict in that region will not necessarily arrive at our shores in a straightforward fashion. They'll be filtered through the lens of online media and mixed with existing views and grievances in unpredictable ways.
Marauding attacks are unpredictable and quick. In 2017, the 3 London bridge attackers killed 6 people in 8 minutes before they were shot. The same year, the Westminster bridge attacker killed 5 people in 82 seconds. Here in Manchester, the attacker was shot within 7 minutes of a call from the public. That phone call probably saved lives. It's likely so did the security precautions that all synagogues routinely deploy. That fortressing of their lives, schools and places of worship must sadly be stepped up. Jason Farrell, Sky News.
Well, let's go live to Downing Street and our chief political correspondent, John Craig. And John, the Prime Minister warning of the need to tackle rising anti-Semitism in the UK.
Yes, he began just before he talked about that hatred rising, as he put it. He talked about the daily threat of anti-Semitic hatred. When he talked about, he said that it's a hatred that's rising once again. He said Britain must defeat it once again. He began by talking about how the UK was a haven for Jews who escaped from the Holocaust, and he ended by promising. He said, "I'd do everything in my power to guarantee you the security you deserve to the Jewish community, starting with a more visible police presence protecting your community." Number 10 officials here say that's happened already today following that attack. Now, what happened today was that the Prime Minister clearly was told very early during his visit to Copenhagen for an international summit, a European summit of leaders discussing tackling illegal migration. He got on a plane, came straight back here. He was clearly tipped off it was a terrorist incident. That's why he acted so swiftly. He arrived back here. He made a very solemn walk up to the door, actually. He was accompanied by Jonathan Powell, a senior figure of the Blair years, who's now his national security advisor. Before then, we saw Lawrence Taylor. He's the Assistant Commissioner in charge of counter-terrorism. Came straight from Scotland Yard, where he'd done a briefing, walked up Downing Street before the PM got back, briefed him. The cabinet ministers who were at the Cobra meeting were included David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, Yvette Cooper, the new Foreign Secretary, who came back from France to attend the meeting. The new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, dialed in from Manchester. Her permanent secretary was here. And Steve Reed, who is the Community Secretary, was also involved. So the Prime Minister was trying to reassure the Jewish community, which is in shock, obviously. Of course, his wife has a Jewish background, and he feels this very painfully. And it was a very solemn address, lasted 3.5 minutes, very solemn. Fine words, but the critics will say perhaps it needs more action and not just words. The words are fine, but the government needs to do a lot more to protect the Jewish community.
John, thank you. John Craig with the latest from outside Downing Street for us tonight. While responding to the attack, Israel's foreign minister accused the British government of failing to deal with what he called a toxic wave of anti-Semitism here in the UK. Gideon Saar wrote, "The truth must be told. Blatant and rampant anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli incitement, as well as calls of support for terror, have recently become a widespread phenomenon in the streets of London, in cities across Britain and on its campuses. The authorities in Britain have failed to take the necessary action to curb this toxic anti-Semitism and have effectively allowed it to persist. We expect more than words from the Starmer government. We expect and demand a change of course, effective action and enforcement against the rampant anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli incitement in Britain." Our Middle East correspondent Adam Parsons has more from Jerusalem.
Israel and many Israelis feel beleaguered by the spectre of anti-Semitism, and when they see it being played out so violently on the streets of Britain, it really does resonate here. I think there's a few factors that come into play here, Yelda. Number one, this happened on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. In fact, when this attack happened in Manchester, around me in Jerusalem, the city was almost silent because movement around, work, driving just simply isn't allowed on that day. That's why the reaction, the political reaction, didn't come until later when these politicians effectively came back to work. But when that reaction came, it was strident and in some ways uncompromising. You heard there Gideon Saar calling out the UK government, referring to the Prime Minister as merely Starmer. We've had similarly strong sentiments from people like Itamar Ben-Gvir, as you would expect, Bezalel Smotrich, and many pointing to the fact that this country was built, they say, because of the enormous wave of anti-Semitism that, of course, led to the Holocaust. And there are those who feel that this is re-emerging. That was the substance of the letter that Isaac Herzog, the Israeli president, wrote to King Charles, saying that Jews in many countries, and he names the UK, Australia and Canada, are fearful for their safety. and that these are countries that stood together, he said, to fight against fascism and Nazism, and are now seeing a rise in anti-Semitism. Now, there will be those who, of course, link this to global criticism of the state of Israel, the way it has conducted war in Gaza. But there will also be those who say it is completely different, that it is one thing to criticise, whether that is the government of Israel, whether that is the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu. It is quite another to watch anti-Semitism and not to jump in to stop it. And that, I suppose, is the question that faces the British government now. How do you stop a rise in anti-Semitism? Is it happening? Yes, it is. All of the statistics suggest that in Britain and Europe, anti-Semitism is on the rise. And that worries a lot of people here in Israel.
Adam Parsons there from Jerusalem. Our crime correspondent Martin Brunt is here with me in Crumpsall. And let's talk about the police investigation, Martin, because a lot has been made of the effectiveness of the police response this morning. Everything happening within 7 minutes, a very swift response. And this investigation, wider, is proceeding at pace.
I think tonight the police are probably further along in their investigation than they thought they might have been. They probably don't want to say that publicly because there's a long way to go. Yeah. But I mean, from the first moments, 7 minutes from the first call to the shots being fired that undoubtedly saved more lives, they've arrested 3 people. They've got 3 people in custody that they've got time to question them. I think they must feel that they've made an awful lot of progress. And knowing the identity so quickly of the killer gives them a huge boost to the investigation because, it's not as though they've got a terrorist on the run, which you sometimes will have in situations like this. So I think they've made good progress. They will be exploring every aspect of that killer's life tonight, talking to his family, his friends, his acquaintances, exploring his phones, his computers, turning his life upside down to try to find the one thing that they've said today they still don't know, his motivation. Perhaps it's clear. And it might be to a lot of people who followed events today, but the police will want to be absolutely certain what triggered this terrible event.
2 police operations running side by side effectively today. There is that is the police investigation into the terrorism incident, but there is also the police operation in heightening security around Jewish communities, not just here in Manchester, but right across the UK.
Yes, I mean, we've already said throughout the day that it's the community that's probably better secure than almost any other. And we know from talking to, and you've spoken to the boss of the Community Security Trust, about how devastated they are, explaining the levels of security that already exist. I mean, this is an organisation that has an £18 million grant from the UK government to help provide security guards, official security guards and volunteers for synagogues like the one here and to Jewish schools. And yet something like this can still happen. I suppose it's very difficult, whatever your security measures, to guard against somebody who's armed with a car and a knife. I mean, that's what it boils down to. A big effort was made to stop him getting into the synagogue, and that again undoubtedly saved the lives of more people. But the Community Security Trust has already said that it needs to redouble its efforts to protect schools, synagogues, Jewish organisations. And you have to ask, well, how much more can they do before you get into a position where you're restricting people's lives?
OK, Martin, thank you. Martin Brunt, our crime correspondent, his thoughts there on events today. Thanks very much, Martin. Well, this atrocity perpetrated here in Greater Manchester today is reverberating across the country and around the world. We'll have more updates from Manchester over the course of this police investigation as this community starts to come to terms with what has happened. Coming up after the break, Gillian Joseph will take you through tomorrow's newspapers and we'll take a look at how they've been covering this terrorist incident.